most of the things are already been taken care. Since most of these things have been taken over by technology, there is therefore a very essential need that if the business is using and has integrated technology to a very, very large extent, then as far as internal audit is concerned, why can't internal audit use the same technologies? Why can't internal auditors read the same technologies? Why can't internal auditors, use some of the programs, some of the technology elements that business is using? And why can't internal auditors basically understand the core of technology which the business is actually using? And there are sub imperatives within this, that while the business is using the technology which is required for doing the business or accelerate the business in a digital manner, then is this technology safe? Is this technology effective? Is this technology fit for purpose? Or is this technology really meeting our end goals? Is this technology governed adequately enough? These are all sub imperatives within the usage of technology. That is the first imperative. Then comes the very second and a very important imperative is that the expectations from internal audit today is really huge, and practically anything and everything that the business is supposed to give an assurance on. And let me tell you that there are two more essential imperatives that have got added, sub imperatives within the second imperative. So let's say sustainability. Sustainability, I don't need to overemphasize this, but you all know how sustainability has taken a central stage at a global level, at a senior most, at the highest, at the supremest level. Sustainability has become the core criteria of investing, core criteria of reviewing, auditing, monitoring, reporting. And then, like we have auditing and accounting standards, we also have sustainability standards. And we also have, like we had internal controls over financial reporting, we have internal controls over sustainability reporting. And that whole sustainability reporting, since this area has taken a very rapid importance, it's taken a overnight importance over past 2 or 3 years, and the reporting and essential imperative has come around sustainability. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done by the business on sustainability. There's a lot of work that the finance and the accounting professionals have to do on sustainability, on reporting, and creating the right kind of metrics and the right kind of financial and sustainability reports. But while the business and the finance teams have to do it, there is a pressure on the internal audit team to also include sustainability reporting and auditing on the sustainability reporting and sustainability controls, because those are the controls and reporting that the business is ultimately going to rely on, and the business and the investors and the larger governance keepers, including the regulators, going to rely upon. So that has taken a central stage globally, and that has added to the imperative of internal audit alongside all other areas of work that you were supposed to do. Within the second imperative, the second the second B part of the second imperative, which is an added imperative that has added pressure to what is expected from internal audit profession, is the data protection. World around, 2023 has been the year of data protection. So you talk about countries, not just India, which has enacted a law on data protection, privacy, and data governance. We have world over, whether it is Saudi Arabia, China, Sri Lanka, and many other countries, including the US, which is going to have a federal law now. While we had a GDPR back in 2016, more or less we have the data protection and the data governance laws being kind of incorporated and required to be complied with some humongous penalties globally. So that is again a very important imperative that has got added along with sustainability. Now, this is as far as the addition of the scope and expectations from internal audit. On the other hand, we also have business, as I said, which is expecting you to give you an assurance on technology and some of the AI tools that the business is using. So business is expecting you to give assurance on whether those AI, ML, generative AI, and all different kinds of things that the business is using, is this effective? is this right technology? Is it a fit for purpose technology? Is the technology safe? And all those different assurances, that are needed, because business has already been using technology to quite a great extent. A lot of times, these technologies are also becoming outdated within a few months, and business is still using it, experimenting it, finding it useful, using it, or throwing it away. And there is a continuous need that there is an assurance on those technologies that is to be provided. Now, while there are these two imperatives, there is also a increased expectation from the work that we used to already do, which is to do a business risk assurance. I mean, doing a complete assurance on each and every area of the scope that we were supposed to review. So that is an existing imperative of increased focus, or to cover a significant portion of the data, a significant portion of the evidences, or the significant portion of the population, rather than just doing a sample based auditing. So that is an imperative which is already existing, and because the data is available, and because most of the things are available through the system and the technologies, then the expectation is that why can't there be a near about 100% auditing that can be done, and there is no surprise that can come in. So that is an already existing imperative. The focus is getting far more intense on all the existing areas of business, and that has been defined as a terms of reference. It is not that because sustainability, data governance have come as additional topics, so there is a reduction in the scope of existing work. No, the existing work is still required to be done in a far more intensive manner with the availability of almost 100% data. That's an existing imperative. And the fourth imperative again is, which I'm sure all the practitioners here on internal audit and the governance, risk and compliance and risk management, all of you people will agree with me, is the lack of the crunch and the lack of talent force that we are facing in the sense that we have less and less number of people who are interested in professions like internal auditing, even auditing or tax or bookkeeping, accounting, finance. There are less and less number of people who are actually interested in pursuing these courses. We have already seen that in India, the kind of course enrollments that we have for accountancy disciplines. And also, I think there's an experience in some of the other Western countries where the pipeline of the students pursuing accountancy and pursuing, some of the disciplines which are related to accounting, risk management, auditing, internal auditing. Some of these are falling down drastically. In fact, in some of the countries, the pipeline of the students has severely broken, and we don't see that some of this pipeline is going to be repaired in the short term. And there is already a huge volume of work that is expected, and there is a severe shortage of the talent that all of us have been facing in the area, and we're going to be facing and continuing to face. And that's a fourth essential imperative for us to evaluate and look at how AI, ML can be really effective for us. Now, having said these four imperatives, there are already, when I spoke back in 2021 on a similar session with Chintan Bhai, I had already mentioned most of these things, that already, the technologies that are getting used for doing internal auditing and intensive internal auditing using AI, ML technologies are helping us to reduce the cost by almost 60% in the year one itself. And all of those calculations, all of those business cases for using technology is already there, and there are empty number of papers and research that is available on the topic of how and which areas the AI ML can be used, how can be some of these technologies be used to do continuous auditing, while internal auditor historically and empirically has been doing quarterly internal audits, looking at the data and information quarterly. But I also heard about continuous auditing by Murtuza and by Chintan Bhai, about how some of the imperative around continuous auditing is coming up. So the need based on all of these technologies is, when there's a shortage of staff, there is addition of scope, there is more intensity of the existing area of the scope, the expectations on internal audit from the internal audit team is on a real rise, and that would lead us to essentially use some of these AI technologies in practice. And it becomes therefore very important for us to understand the AI technologies, to see what the implications are, to do some trial and error, and then to start using it in our day-to-day life. And as I said earlier, we are at a very, very nascent, very, very early stages. I haven't seen as yet some of the most modernized internal audit departments to be using technology, even to the extent of 20 to 30% of their work, or covering 20 to 30% of their workforce. And therefore, that shows a very significant amount of scope and opportunity for us to get into this area and do this area. Having said this, it is important that we are surrounded and we are, along with the technology professionals who have the right understanding, and to make them understand on the business is our job, but to be surrounded with the right kind of technology talent, I think that is something which is going to be extremely important. And in the times ahead, what we're going to see is less and less of the core disciplines like accounting. We are seeing the pipeline and the enrollments falling down. Likewise, in the medical profession, also at some point, we're going to see the enrollments falling down. But what we're going to see is some specialized courses, highly specialized courses that will integrate AI into these disciplines and the learning. So we're talking about medical profession, then how some of these surgeries, how some of these medical prescriptions can be given by the doctors with the help of AI. And that kind of a learning is what is going to, because no more, there was a time just maybe 10, 15 years ago, we were using calculators. We're not using them anymore, right? Excel sheet similarly. There is also an advancement that, less and less of Excel sheets, other than, of course, for your basic day-to-day interaction and financial discussions. You have spreadsheets, but most of the businesses have created workflows that kind of overcome the need and the requirement for the Excel sheets. So as we get into this topic further, I believe that there is a lot of advancement that is expected to come in. We are going to see a sea change in the way internal audit will be happening. Already we have seen it with the advent of internet and with the advent of telecommunications, ERP and 5G. There's a lot of groundwork that has already been done. And with, of course, this AI and ML playing its role, I believe that we will have a very different kind of a world of internal audit, where you will have at least one person surrounded by, as we presently have, there's a very typical structure of hierarchy of the, let's say, a manager having, two or three people like consultants and senior consultants. And again, there's a group of trainees. I think that kind of an hierarchical structure is expected to change, and you will have machines working along with bots, machines working along with some of these AI, ML technologies. Now, having said this, I will hand over to my colleague and fellow professional and my fellow partner Prashant to take this over from here. And with the permission of all of you, and Murtuza and Chintan, I would like to log off. As you know, I have to also attend an important event. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kartik.
Thank you. So thanks a lot, Kartik bhai. Thank you, Ms. Murtuza bhai. Thank you, Chintan bhai. I think all of you have very beautifully set up the context of this topic. And if you allow me, I will just probably spend just a few minutes giving you a background of myself, and then maybe we can directly jump into the main topic. So my name. Sorry, is there a question?
Sure, Prashant, I was saying go ahead.
Yes, thank you. So my name is Prashant Kalawar. I'm a partner with the firm with GRRCS, which is Governance, Risk, Resilience, Compliance, and Sustainability. And it actually is just a phrase that we have coined, which actually means nothing but internal audit, compliance, ITGC, IFC, testing, SOX, and so on. So it's just a phrase that we have coined, which kind of includes all of this. My experience primarily was in the industry, wherein I started my career back in 2000 in Citibank. I did various roles, that being my first job. I started off with operations, then customer service. I did international trade. I did backend operations for AMC. And the last 2 years before I quit Citibank, I was the what they used to call as the BUCO, which is Business Unit Compliance Officer for the Suvidha business, which now, unfortunately, has been sold off to Axis Bank. Come 2008, I jumped into insurance, spent the first 3.5 years in Aditya Birla Insurance. It was Aditya Birla Sun Life with a joint venture. I did business continuity, information security, and enterprise risk for 3.5 years. I quit there and I joined Bharti AXA Life as the head of internal audit, which included not only the life but the GI as well as the subsidiary based out of Bangalore. After that, I had a brief stint with Ernst& Young as director in the advisory practice, managing internal audit across BFSI. After that, I spent close to 7 years as the regional head of audit for Aviva, based out of Gurgaon, managing countries like Hong Kong, Singapore, Vietnam, as well as India. And after that, most recently, I have joined the firm a little over a year ago, and that's where I am. So I would say more of industry experience, less of consulting, but I think the reason why I've joined is that I think at some point in time I would like to balance it. So that's just a very brief about myself. What I'm going to do is I have a very short presentation, and I'm just going to share my screen, and then we can take it on from there. Is my screen visible?
No, sir. Not yet.
Okay, just give me a moment. Now is it visible?
Now it's visible.
Okay, thank you. So, before I, directly jump into the presentation, people obviously at the beginning thought, okay, artificial intelligence, chat bot, machine learning, RPA, these are all very nice, fancy terms. I'm sure, this is another fad which will, die out. But this kind of takes me back into the late 90s, and I remember reading an article where somebody said that this internet is there, but I'm sure that's another fad. But just imagine a world without internet today. I don't think we can live without the internet, and that has become bread and butter of what we are doing today. So I think a lot of these concepts which were initially debunked as just another fad and which will eventually go away, I don't think that's going to happen with artificial intelligence, because it's getting into almost every mode of what we do, the way we live, the way we eat, our preferences, our food habits, the way we entertain ourselves, the way we conduct ourselves, social media, everything. So this ain't going anywhere. So I think the only way to get around it is to embrace this change. And the sooner we do it, the better it's going to be. Just like, Kartik mentioned as the fourth imperative, which is, a huge skill gap. And we are always used to doing the traditional bits, and we pride ourselves in having the technical know-how when it comes to accounting and all other aspects, being a chartered accountant. But I think somewhere down the line, we need to upskill, maybe reskill ourselves, so that we continue to remain relevant. And the internal audit profession also needs to step up, to gear up for this particular change. I also remember one example which he said that we it's started from every aspect and every area of our being. If everybody remembers, previously there used to be open surgeries, then it moved to laser surgeries, and now we are doing robotic surgeries. So you know uh, this is just one example how things have actually moved from one area to another. And as simple as a surgery, to ordering food, to entertaining, to booking our tickets, the way we consume data, and so on. So I think a lot of these technologies are being used to enhance our day-to-day life. Yes, one can argue whether too much of anything is good, but I think if we are able to use it for us to become more efficient, more productive, more informative, I think this will definitely be something that will benefit us. Now, coming back to the presentation, um, what, why, and how AI will work for internal auditing, right? Is there a business case for internal auditing? Now, I'm always, and I'm sure we all face this, that, when we speak to heads of audit, we speak to our CXOs, the board, the audit committee, the management, whether it be some of the founders or some of the promoters. I think one thing which they're constantly looking for is what's the value that internal audit, brings to the table. And I'm sure we all struggle with this term value. How do you term value? Can you put a number to that value? Is it qualitative? Is it quantitative? What do you mean by value? And I think many a times we always struggle to get that value proposition onto the table, purely because I'm sure even the people who are asking this question are unable to understand, what do you mean by value? I want to see something more than just normal reports. What does that mean? And I think one of the areas, if I may say, that how is it that internal auditing and this profession can add value? I think artificial intelligence, in my opinion, can play a very, very big role, right? Now, how can that be possible? It's possible through various ways: robotic process automation, RPAs, we know; cognitive intelligence, we know; audit quality, we know; use of use of various algorithms, use of various scripts, and so on. Right. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of a tech landscape. Right. Now, artificial intelligence refers to what? It's nothing but simulation of human intelligence in machines, right? Now, AI systems work by ingesting large amounts of labeled training data, analyzing the data for correlations and patterns. What does it mean? Now, it means that in the good old days, and I actually, want to say good old days because I think I'm sure we have kind of moved away from that concept, is that the good old days was okay, show me the data, let me do some number crunching from maybe 6 months ago or 9 months ago, and then I come to a conclusion, and then I say, okay, this is what it is. That's the thing of the past. Then came continuous monitoring, right? Continuous monitoring means what? That before the payment goes through, I want to check its accuracy, so that I don't want to make any incorrect payments. I don't want to know it through 3-4 months down the line. I want to know it as it happens. And therefore, that there came the concept of continuous monitoring, and a lot of departments are doing this pretty successfully. Then came the concept of data analytics, right? Now, when I talk about data analytics is, I would say, a subset of artificial intelligence as well, because what is artificial intelligence at the end of the day? It is not replacing your natural intelligence. It's not taking away your jobs. It is just that you are trying to make a particular result more accurate. I would say most accurate. There was a time where, we could write in our audit reports that we are doing this on a sample basis. So we are going to give you limited assurance. I think a lot of companies are now saying, sorry, but we don't want limited assurance. We want more assurance. We want almost close to 100% assurance. Now, how do you get 100% assurance? You can't get 100% assurance by doing a sample of 30 or 40%. You can't use the same traditional sampling techniques and say, I've done stratified sampling, I've done this sampling, I've done all of those, and this is where I'm coming. But guess what? You guys figure out if there is a bigger problem. I think we need to move away from that conceptually. We need to say, okay, we're going to look at your entire data set, but how are we going to do that? Right? And I think artificial intelligence is the answer. When I say artificial intelligence is the answer, what does AI do? I think what AI does is it aids in data collection and analysis. It is error-free auditing. It improves the coverage. It obviously aids in coming to a better conclusion, right? And I think most importantly today, with so many institutions, so many companies getting merged, demerged, companies taking over each other. You have legacy systems, you have systems which don't talk to each other, you have systems which are outdated, you have systems which are on different platforms, and so on. So if somebody was to say, okay, I need to audit a particular process, and that a particular process has got multiple systems, what do you do? How do you give assurance? I think AI comes to the rescue. And AI comes to rescue because through these very, very complicated systems, you are able to actually navigate through all these multiple systems, legacy systems, emails, PDFs, Excel sheets. You can put all of that together, right? And fetch data and make it in such a form that it is readable, and also it will start to give you trends. There is this entire concept of predictive analysis. What does predictive analysis means? Is that I want to know how a particular area is going to perform even before it happens. That's the whole idea of predictive analysis. Now, e-commerce as well as the entire hospitality and travel industry uses this concept beautifully. Now, how do they do it? I'm sure we all know, right? You order from a particular place twice, thrice. They know your food taste. They know which time of the day, when do you order it, right? What are your travel preferences? So you draw out, an entire chart. They're able to read through what you buy, where you go. You read all of that. And therefore, there are bots on top of each other, which actually, are sitting like drones all over you. And there are various pieces of moving data, and they're able to pick that all up and come to a final analysis, right? So that's what the entire concept of predictive analysis is. So gone are those days where, I would say, okay, let's remove a 3-month sample, let's remove a 6-month sample and say how we are performing, and then, give out a report. By the way, even reports are becoming shorter and smaller. People don't want long, verbose reports. People don't have the time. They're just saying, tell me what's the problem and I want to fix it. I remember in one of the conversations with my ex-bosses, he tasked me to say, if you want to give me an audit issue, put it in 40 characters and not more than that. You know why 40 characters? Can anybody tell me why 40 characters? Does anybody know? Okay, so 40 characters is the maximum size that one can do in a tweet, right? Which is X now, which used to be Twitter originally. So it means that that's how short one should make it, because that's how the world is going. You tell me quickly what needs to be done and we will fix it, right? Nobody wants to listen to or look at very, very long reports. Reports are becoming shorter. Analysis are becoming more complicated, but and assurances are getting 100%. So it's a very, very complicated world that we live in. So all of this can be done through artificial intelligence, but we need to know how to use it to our advantage, because a lot of companies have started to use it. They expect internal auditors and the community to know it. They expect us to know the systems in and out and what is the value that we can bring to the table as a result of using those systems, right? Now, like I said, AI requires a foundation of specialized hardware as well as software. You know, all of these things put together. Now, there is machine learning and advanced analytics. There is natural language processing. There is robotics, process automation. There is conversational AI. There is expert system as well as a virtual experience, right? Now, I'm sure at all points in time, you would have read what these mean, and I'm sure we would have also used some of these technologies. Like, for example, say you log into your let's take for example HDFC a login, and you have a query. Gone are those days where you would pick up the phone and speak to a call center executive. You would have a chatbot. And how is that done? You log in, you verify yourself, and you start chatting. But what is that? That's the intelligence that's gone behind it. So a lot of the repetitive stuff which is going on today has now been programmed by having bots do the job for you. Now, what that means is that, it saves you time, it's faster, it's seamless, it can be accessed from anywhere as long as you have an internet connection. So a lot of these things have become easy from an overall customer experience and a customer stickiness standpoint, right? You take any application today, you take any system today, if it is user friendly, it is seamless, it gets what you want, it's able to predict what kind of queries you would want, frequently asked problems, I think you will not move away from there. If you are used to a particular way of doing things, you will stick to that no matter how many other better versions of that come. So I think that's what we should strive for, and ensure that we are able to give the best systems to our customers, so that they get so used to a particular level of service that they don't go anywhere, or they don't feel the need to go anywhere. Today, I'll give you an example. If there is phone pay, there is Zomato, there is Paytm, there are so many fintech apps, but download one, start using it, and you will not want to use the rest, purely because you've already done your bit and you can't manage the rest. So I think all of this, ultimately it boils down to how we are able to ensure that we get the customer, as well as ensure that um, the customer also likes the services and the products that we are using. Now, similarly, when you talk about robotics, right? You use algos, you use algorithms, you are crunching a whole lot of data. Today, when I am doing something as simple as an inventory or a stock audit, right? Do I need to go to the go down and look at each and every physical inventory and look at it? I'm sure there are systems to do that now. So what you would take probably a week to do, if you use these AI tools, and you use them intelligently, I'm sure you'll get a much more accurate picture, as well as a more assurance in terms of the accuracy. So a lot of these things, seemingly which looked very difficult at a point in time, have started to become quite easy now. But I think the challenge lies in using it and interpreting it, as well as presenting it in the right manner. Because today we are actually victims of too much of information, and a lot of the information that we are getting through various sources are very jumbled. We don't know how to correlate them. How do you interpret it? And does it give you any trend? Does it give you any pattern? Is it telling you a story? Right? So all of that can all be brought together through a variety of usage, whether it is machine learning, whether it is through an expert system, through a virtual experience, whether it's immersive experience, non-immersive experience, modeling, 3D, etc. All of that. I'll just move forward. Now, AI for internal audit at conceptual and abstract level. Now, it's a given. What are internal audit fundamentals, right? Uh, One is you need to be independent, objective, right? Add value, and improve companies' organizations' operations, right? That's what an internal auditor's job is. Now, there was this concept where people used to say, I don't want my internal auditor to be only an internal auditor. I want him or her to be a trusted advisor. Now, one can argue that I can't be a trusted advisor as well as an internal auditor because it's a conflict. Agree, it's a conflict. But I think if you really start to look at the way the world is moving, people expect more from just saying, uh, something's not right and something needs to be fixed. Tell me how am I going to fix it? Tell me what my competitors are doing. Tell me what's the best way of doing it. Tell me which systems I'm supposed to use. And I think that's where the concept of value again comes back, because a lot of organizations are looking at very deep rooted problems. And I think a lot of the auditing is done not to figure out what the issues are, because I think that I'm sure the businesses themselves know it. We can't just come in for 2 3 months and figure out what they have been doing wrong for so many years. But it's more about more solution based. Tell us the solutions to our problems. Maybe we'll not have it all at one go, but we need to know where we are going wrong and what is it that we can do to fix it. So a lot of these concepts of tell me what's wrong has now moved to tell me how together we can resolve that. And some of these tools which companies are using or we can use in order to ensure that we are able to give better assurance can be done through all of these things. Now, what are the elements, right? Internal controls, continuous monitoring I talked about, right? Compliance and risk management. And at the end of the day, it all culminates into what? Systems and process and people. Because every business needs systems. There has to be a process. And who is manning all of this? There are people, right? So what do you do with all this? You're moving from sampling to 100%. You're doing exception reporting. You're doing benchmarking. You're looking at continuous improvement statistics. You're looking at KRIs and so on. Now, when I talk about business case, I think we've been talking, the same thing, right? What are we going to learn from all of this? Uh, are we going to say that, are we continuously innovating? Are we improving? Are we learning more and more things from our experiences? Is it telling us a story that we didn't know earlier? Is it telling us what we are doing 24/7? Is it giving us more enhanced accuracy? Because we're not looking at now a sample, but the entire universe of things, right? There was a time where, one could say, I will do 4 areas today, 5 areas, after at a point in time after that. But I think business has evolved, and I think everybody wants assurance on, a lot of areas at once, because businesses want to expand, but they want to expand knowing that the controls are also very much all in place. That's why concept of scalability comes, and the the faster you grow, the bigger you grow. We all know that controls become all the more important, right? A lot of companies that were set up as startups have become private limited and now are going public, raising money. There is a responsibility when you grow public because you're using public money. There is more transparency. So I think all of these concepts become very, very important as you go, and the journey of a particular company. And if one was to see how they are growing, I think all these concepts and all these applications become very, very important, right? It complements and transforms human intelligence, transcend human limitations and boundaries. Because when we say transcend human limitations and boundaries, it means that why are we restricting ourselves to only looking at a particular data or b particular data? Why don't we marry it all together and see what it's telling you, right? Whether it be logistics, or whether it be e-commerce, or whether it be hospitality, what is it telling? And if you really look at it, each and every business today doesn't live in isolation. Everybody depends on some other mode for its survival, right? Just imagine uh, a Zomato or a Swiggy, which we all use, and you don't have the logistics inbuilt. Your food is ready, but how is it going to come to your doorstep, right? So it's all very, very, very integrated. From the time you click on order till the time it reaches your home, the kind of algorithms that go through is just absolutely mind-boggling, right? But all we get to see is that your food is being prepared and your rider is on its way. But that's the beautiful part. As a customer, you get to see that because it's a wow experience. So the concept of wow has moved from you know from just ordering food and getting it to also knowing where it is, how soon you can expect it. So again, you talk about predictive analysis, so you can plan better. You can things how they're going to happen, so you can plan better. Your time is used more efficiently. So I think it just is a win-win for everybody. Now, as in all new technologies or with new things coming into being, there are always myths, there are always challenges, right? We talked about integration of technologies. Yes, there could be challenges with integration of technologies where you could say that, I'm not able to get data all at one go because, I have my one system on one platform, I have another data on another platform. They don't talk to each other. When I remove it, I need to massage that data. It's not really giving me accurate data, so on and so forth. We talk about limited skill sets, right? Outpace human intelligence. I don't think so, right? I'm sure you'd have had so many debates on, people are going to lose their jobs, and what's going to happen if I don't step up, then my job is going to be taken off by a robot and all of those things. I think if you really ask me, natural intelligence will continue. Um, I think how we are going to use it, how we are going to consume it, will depend on our survival will depend on that. And all at this stage we can say is that if we embrace it and we are able to reskill and upskill ourselves, then I think there is nothing to worry about. Then whether it's RPA or whether it's machine learning or all these fancy concepts that are out there, I think will all just start to look very, very familiar to us, right? They say it's expensive, lack of human touch, but I think in any journey, when you have a limited number of people using it, it's always expensive, right? But I think when you look at economies of scale over time, I think it's pure economics that more people use it, a particular product, it's bound to get cheaper, right? Because somewhere it has to kind of even out. And lack of human touch, yes, there is an element of challenge on that front. But I'm sure there are so many ways where you would not want that. Sometimes it's just a transaction, and you are happy not wanting to interact. And I'm sure with social media and all of those things, we are far more closer to people than we were some years ago. So I think the lack of human touch element can also be looked at very, very differently. And lack of economic scale, I think that over time will become a reality. Internet, like I said many years ago, people always scoffed at it, saying that we don't know where this is going to go. But today we can't live without it. I'm sure 5 years down the line we will be talking on the same topic, and it will become a very natural thing for us to do. So I think there are challenges to use this conceptually, but I'm sure there are ways in which we can also go about doing this. Uh, Here are just a few examples. In terms of AI application in internal audit, we've talked about it at various stages: data insights, data warehousing, data analytics. This is all on the data intelligence and data analytics and management. You have robotic process automation, wherein you can re-engineer, you can let robots carry out all the repetitive and mundane activities. You'll feel that you go to a bank, and the ones that are the new age banks, you will find stuff that which was a teller in front is now being replaced by somebody else who is just a system, because that is something which has now been taken over. So I think mundane regular activities is good to do, because you don't read that much human intelligence for you to do it. They're repetitive in nature, and you get the same result every time you punch in something. Integrated business processes, yes, uh, very, very important across all businesses. Physical verification of inventories, like we talked about, can be used for difficult and complex physical environments, which will be difficult for humans to navigate, such as dips, measurements, surveying and verifying the presence of or temperature. Right today, if you look at the large warehouses that are being kept for food grains or for perishable commodities, right? And when I talk about warehouses, I mean warehouses that run into several 1,000 square feet, right? It's humanly impossible for us to look at the temperature uh, at every corner of the warehouse, and therefore you could have food grains and perishables getting destroyed or getting rotten. But now, with bots, all of that can be looked at very seamlessly. So that becomes very easy. Application with ease of use, with real me time, replace human travels for physical verification. You don't have to be physically present at that. You take the readings and you're done. 100% verification, automated or human attended or recorded. And then obviously conversational AI, I'm sure we all have used this at some point in our lives, wherein we know that the person at the other end is a robot. But as long as our queries are resolved, we are kind of quite okay with that. So what's the AI roadmap for this? Where is it leading us? And the capability maturity model, like just in any IT company towards artificial intelligence, I would say center of excellence, right? So you have data transformation, you have process transformation, integrated business functions, integrated technologies, all of that, you what do you get? You get a center of excellence. So I would say the IA team should be part of the artificial intelligence center of excellence as a business process, internal controls, and a governance champion. So, you know, this is one topic which I'm sure will keep evolving. Today we are talking about a particular concept. We are talking about technology, but like with all technologies, it can get outdated very, very soon. The gestation, the cycle time for new technologies is becoming shorter and shorter. And what we learn today, becomes obsolete within, I would say, a year to 12 to 18 months. The programming languages, are getting more complicated. We have programming languages called Python, which is now being used. The earlier ones have become outdated. So I think the idea is to keep being nimble. The idea is to keep looking at what's happening in the real world and embrace this change, because the sooner we embrace it, the better we are going to be at adopting this. And like they say, change is the only constant. So this is something which is here to stay. And the sooner we embrace it, the better it is, and start using it in our auditing techniques. I'm sure we are using it at some point in time, but I think whether it is us or whether it is our team members, how to use it, how do you position this in front of our customers, in front of our partners, in front of our vendors. I think all of that can become very, very essential. And I think most important to our stakeholders, which is the management, which is the boards and the audit committees. I think if one is, if one was to give a more better assurance, I would say more accurate, more predictive, I'm sure people will look up and say that, yes, this internal audit team or this internal audit function or department is really, I would say, adding value. So I think it all leads to that. And, we're back to the concept of adding value. And I think AI can be a great tool to add value. So I'll just stop at this point and, um, I'm happy to take any questions, any reactions, comments, because I'm sure this is one topic which we all read at some point in time, but how do we implement it? How do we get about going it? I think these are things which as we go around the journey, we will get some of these answers.
Yeah, Mr. Prashad, I think it was really wonderful. It was a thought-provoking for a lot of all of us, because the way the technology has been changing and the way we are able to adopt the same, I think no one knows how it will really could happen. So it may require a lot of discussion, interaction, understanding how it happens. So let's hope that we all are able to really gear up ourselves to match up with these expectations, requirements, because as you mentioned rightly that the internal audit has now become more very demanding by way of the management wants to check everything. They want more assurance from limited assurance. So let us see how it's possible.
Yeah, so all these concepts, Chintan bhai, like I said, and I'll be very honest, hand on my heart. Do we have all the answers right now? The answer is no. But do we want to seek those answers? The answer is yes. A lot of companies are still in trial and error mode as well. They don't know if they have adopted a particular process or a particular technology, whether it's going to yield them that kind of a result. You'll be surprised. I work back with a lot of fintechs as well as a lot of gaming companies as well. And if one was to look at their IT infrastructure and their IT architecture, you'll be surprised to know how old their concepts and their technologies are. They were saying, can you do an ITGC review for us? And I'm like, yes, we can do an ITGC review. What we used to do 10, 15 years ago, we can do it now as well, right? So that's the way we feel that because it's a fintech, because it's a gaming company, they're going to be having the world class technologies, best in class, they know it all. But guess what? They don't. So we don't need to be afraid of these new age companies. We don't need to be afraid of the fact that they have the best of technologies. How are we going to do it? Nothing of that sort. I think we have to understand IT ecosystem. We have to understand their processes. We have to understand their industry in which they operate, what are the challenges that they are going through, and give them solutions for that, right? Just like Kartik bhai said, give solutions which are relevant to that particular business,
Correct.
right? I can't give a solution which I would give to a Hindustan Unilever to a startup which has just started 2 or 3 years ago. They will say, I'm not in that league, right? So don't give me irrelevant solutions.
Correct. Yeah, I think there are a few questions in Q&A chat box. Can you just go through that?
Yeah.
You want me to read out the questions?
Yeah. So one is says, time and again, I get this to my mind that service is not valued in its real terms in India. Further, the Indian MSME is still in a nascent phase of collecting proper data, and except the big cities, most of them are still using the traditional methods of analyzing the business. For example, the Surat textile industry is still on paper and pen mode. With this challenge, the first question comes about the availability of data, and if we start preparing machine readable data from physical documents, it's time consuming, and by the time when the data is ready, time value analysis loss. Please share your inputs. So, I think every business, and that's a very, very good question. We always look at very evolved businesses. We look at businesses that have, good systems, good controls, and so on and so forth. But I think we forget, just like you mentioned, MSME, we forget that these are, I would say, the backbone of the economy, right? MSME todays are really the backbone of the economy because they are the ones who are doing a whole lot of brilliant activity, and they are really shaping and building the country. But what happens is that they are so busy in building the business that they forget that there could be technologies that could aid them. They forget that they could do things in a far more efficient manner because they have started a business with a particular thing in mind, but they haven't evolved because maybe they haven't got the right partners to consult them on the right manner. Maybe they haven't got the right people who say that these technologies you can leverage for betterment. So I think the use of artificial intelligence, or all these robotics and stuff like that we talked about, I think needs to be used in the context and the maturity of the business, right? I can't use a one size fits all kind of a story and says that guess what, you have barely begun to walk and now I'm saying you start to run. That's not going to work like that. So I think every industry, every company will go through its journey of maturity, and when the time is ripe is when one can then scale up and then say, okay, now this company is mature enough for us to have a better technology, a better assurance, and so on. So I would not say that just because this technology is available everybody should use it. No, I think it will become a complete disaster, right? There are so many technologies available, but if it is not relevant to my business, I will say let it happen. So what if artificial intelligence has happened, but I'm still okay with the way I am? So I think it depends on the journey that the industry is in, and as well as the maturity of the company.
Right. There are a few more questions in Q&A. Just look at.
Sure.
So in the Q&A, I think there is a question whether a CA should learn coding and venture into AI ML field. Will it be fruitful for the efforts that we put in, especially if the CA is already in such background? So if you can.
So, Mr. Rahul, I think you put a very tough question to me. I'll be honest.
The question is by Sagar. I'm just putting it forward to you.
Okay,
But
okay,
yeah.
sorry. See, just like with anything, right? I would always say the more you know, the better, right? Now, just because I am a chartered accountant, does it mean that I should have zero IT knowledge? Just because I'm a chartered accountant, I should be able to only analyze financial statements. Does it mean that? I think today the role of an assurance partner, whether you call it an internal auditor, whether you call it a compliance or a risk expert and all of those things, I think people are looking for a very diverse view on things, right? And when I say diverse view on things, I mean, they don't just tell me the downside of things. Tell me also what am I missing from an upside, right? Today, when I go to an audit committee or I go to a risk committee or I go to a board, the questions that I get are very, very interesting. They're not saying, okay, I've understood the company has not done well in this. Okay, they will fix it. I have a target date. Okay, we will do it by this month. All of that. Okay, fine, great. But tell me, by me not doing this, how has it affected my business? Is my brand at risk? Is my reputation at risk? Am I missing a business opportunity as a result of certain controls being weak? This is what the companies are asking for today, because they know that when you are in a business, you are bound to have some kind of inadequacies, some process failures. That's part and parcel of it. You can't be doing a business and say I'm going to have 100% accuracy. It ain't working like that. तो आप धंधा करो ही मत, घर पे बैठो. Correct. It's very simple. So when you are in a business of taking risk, you are going to be somewhere you are going to face certain lapses. All of those things are there. You put in the best of controls, but that does not mean that you know you're going to be absolutely fine. So to coming back to your question, do you need to get into coding? I don't think you need to get into coding, because that's mainly for developing apps and stuff like that. If you want to change your profession or you want to do that as well, please be my guest. Very good. You'll have chartered accountants doing coding, and you can obviously sell yourself as very multifaceted. That's always up to you. Today, people are doing so many different things, right? Just because I'm a traditional chartered accountant, that does not stop me from learning other technologies, learning other things, right? It's a degree which is very coveted. It stands for a particular thing, but that does not stop me from doing other things. So, but is it will I think the moot question is, by not knowing this, are you somewhere not going to benefit? Are you somewhere falling short? The answer is no. But I think with any emerging technology, I would say, if you know about it, better. If you don't, I would say in some shape or form, especially the industry that you are catering to, if it's highly technical or it's highly automated, it's always better. You will come across as more well-read when you're speaking to customers as well as stakeholders. And you'll always come across as somebody who understands the landscape very well, other than just, saying that, I have a CA degree.
So I think the conclusion would be that rather than maybe learning coding, I should really understand what coding or AI ML can do for me. Right.
Exactly.
So, okay. So there's one more question where Pravruti has asked if you can please give 3 good examples where features of idea which can be used in internal audit.
So I think that we can send to you separately. I don't have it upfront, but that can always be shared through a common forum.
Fair enough. So Prajakta has asked, how can we apply AI techniques in IA practically? Any specific tools that you recommend for that?
So like I said, 3 examples of which tools. So I think it's the same repetitive. I will send that separately.
Okay. Amol has asked, what are the methodologies used for adopting AI? Is it something closer to IT projects? I think you answered this question already, so we can move on.
Yeah.
Guide on what could be the first few practical steps to start using some basic tools or softwares for switching from existing old system of internal audit to using technology and AI in our regular audit.
So I think for the sake of repetition, like I said, there are a lot of advanced tools and aids in which we can use. But I think for somebody who's just starting out, or companies who are probably not as mature in their journey, very simple stuff like doing data analytics, doing trend analysis, figuring out outliers, figuring out like, for example, why has there been a sudden dip in sales, or why has there been a sudden increase in sales. If I look at fraud numbers, why has there been an increase in the number of frauds or decrease in the number of frauds. I think these are things which, if one can start to analyze and put it on a chart, suddenly you will start to understand that it's giving you some kind of a pattern, and that pattern, there's an underlying story behind it, right? So I wouldn't say that you put these 2 3 tools and put AI on top of it, put a bot, and here you are, great, this is the product that you're going to get. So like I said, every tool has its utility, for every industry, for every process. It's not a one size fits all solution at all, right? What is, if a company is just starting about, if their systems aren't as complicated, if their business is not as big, start with simple stuff. You don't have to get too complicated about it. And, start with the simple data analytics, which itself can give you 100% assurance. So, for example, if a company has maybe not more than, 3 or 4 or 500 customers, how much time does it take to do a trend analysis on, say, 500 customers as opposed to, say, 50,000 customers, right? Maybe something like an e-commerce, or maybe, a telecommunication industry would need far more intelligence to come to that conclusion.
So there was one more. Sagar had asked a question. I'll park it for the last one because it's a little. I think it may be a lengthy one. So there is one more question. Chat GPT-4 can now interpret diagrams, documents, and data. Do you see this as making internal audit into a discovery phase?
I think Chat GPT has probably, I would say the interpretation is definitely there, but I think, like with any solution, you don't just do a lift and shift. You don't just take it and say, okay, now I apply it, right? I remember, my kids, I have twin boys and they are 17 years old, and, they are in 12th standard right now. And while they both have taken up commerce, they have English as a subject, and they don't pay much attention to it. And they said, Papa, English में क्या रखा है? So many years we are learning English, so it's okay. It doesn't matter much. 2 दिन पहले हम लोग पढ़ाई कर लेंगे, हो जाएगा. And they said, if it is writing a comprehension or writing a really good story, you just put in, you put in the concept, and you'll get hundreds of very interesting stories. That's the beauty of Chat GPT. Now, is that something which is a good thing to do? I wouldn't say yes, because where is your creativity gone? Where is your innovation gone? Where is your mind exploring things which are very different, right? So what is, at the end of the day, what is it doing? It is just picking up hundreds of stories written by, thousands of people, and collating it and throwing it in front of you, right? So I don't think, one should use a particular tool or a technology just because it exists. I think one should, what I would use as a term, fit for purpose. Use it in a manner which is most relevant, and therefore take parts of it and see which is most relevant, and maybe do some introspection and do some of your churning as well, to understand that, this is what it is. So I think a little bit of everything is most important, right? Just imagine, though I'm sitting in Delhi, but I'm actually from Mumbai. Just imagine you make a bhel puri and you only put kurmura in it. How will it taste?
True. So one more question. Internal audit softwares tend to be very expensive, 50,000 to 1 lakh per year. Do you see the AI boom changing this, or any suggestions for
I
India
think,
based?
I think, you know, I think Murtuza Bhai had already probably, at the beginning of this session had said that, there is a tool available, 50,000 one-time charge, and you can use it. I don't think 50,000 rupees, honestly, as a one-time charge is really quite expensive. It's relative. One can say that it is expensive, but I would say in the bigger scheme of things, if you are able to get a better assurance, you are able to look great in front of your stakeholders, then I think it's a small price to pay.
True, very true. One more question. Do you see AI tools like Celonis process discovery tools as transforming enterprise internal audits?
I think time will tell.
Uh, Most SME startups in India use Tele or Zoho, which often have cloud layer but basic GRC compared to SAP. Any recommendations for leveraging that limited functionality to leverage AI tools? For example, any inbuilt integration features, etc.
See, a lot of these tools, I'll be honest, something like Zoho or Tally and stuff like that. Tally is obviously very, very basic. It is used by a lot of firms which are just about starting up. Very good, very efficient, very trustworthy. It's been there for a long time, but people have obviously moved from Tally into Oracle and SAP and stuff like that. Like I said, again, it's a journey, right? When I start my business, let's assume tomorrow I start my own business. I'm not going to say I'm going to get into SAP, right? It's foolishness. Why would I want to get into SAP on day one? Let
True.
my business pick up, let my business mature, let it become more complicated, let it mature. Then I will take a call whether I even need it and whether it's relevant for my business. Just because there is a product out there that is catering to a particular industry doesn't mean that I want to go and buy it tomorrow. It's like that. So it's like a car. There are so many cars available, but do you want it? Does it fit your need? If not, stick to what you want.
True. And so I think basically even say Zoho has an analytical tool which has AI integration into it, which is pretty cheap and usable also. That may integrate with the Zoho accounting software also, or even you can extract tally data into Excel and use analytical tools to do a lot of things which otherwise you would think is as so. I think the lesson here is that AI should not be your master. Rather, AI is a tool which you can actually use in a method where you can actually enhance value for your clients.
I think it's most important is to understand what is your objective,
Correct.
right? Is your objective to give better assurance? Is your objective to sometimes it could just be as simple as I want to use the latest tools and technology, as simple as that, and nothing
True.
more. Just to say that what, if Zoho is the latest in HR software, I want to use it. If SAP is the latest in because I'm in manufacturing, I want to use it. It could be a very, very it could be as simplistic as that. I don't need to even why do I need to justify why do I want to use the latest tools? I think it's a no-brainer.
I think instead of thinking too much on what to use, we should start using it. Otherwise, what happens that we may start think for 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, shall we use or not use new features? But then the time is gone. The way the industry is changing, the way technology is changing. I think after we realize after 5 years that we have missed a lot of things. I think we should start as early as possible.
See, you know what? I will tell you, it just brings me to, it brings me to the story of, I'm forgetting what's his name. I'm getting a thought block. Who's the founder of Apple? Forgetting his name.
Steve Jobs.
Steve Jobs. Yes. Steve Jobs was such a great innovator. And I would say he was probably the best marketing person the world has ever seen, because mainly it is the customer telling the market what the customer wants, right? Steve Jobs was the first person who said, you know what, the customer doesn't know what he wants, I will tell what the customer wants, right? And I think that is where the entire paradigm shift came through. And guess what? He put in an iPhone and the customer was so wowed. He said, shit, I didn't even think of something like this, right? Did you want it? No. But do you love it? Answer is yes.
Yes, great. I think the providing what customers want that will be defined now. So we make use AI and then give something to customer clients, and the clients will feel, wow, this is something which I required. May not be aware about them, but I think they'll spend money on that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right? I think it's wonderful because time is already running out. We have panelists are already on the board. They are eager and eager to share their views. So before that, I request my council colleague CA Rahul Bhai to provide the well-deserved vote of thanks.
So thank you very much, Chintan bhai, and I think it was a great session. Yes, AI in IA is always an interesting concept, and it's a developing field. Lot of questions, and possibly a lot of opportunities also. And I think one thing that we learned, sir, from your presentation is that do not make AI your master, rather master AI. So, and that would be the key to doing leveraging it to for more effective internal audit. So thank you, sir, for sparing your valuable time and being with us. Really grateful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All I will say is that, growth lies outside of your comfort zone always, right? You
Correct.
cannot grow by being in your comfort zone. I think that is, sansar ka niyam hai. So with that, thank you very much. Thank you all for having me. Thank you for, it's my privilege to be in such august company, and I look forward to, seeing and speaking more on various topics. Thank you.
Looking
Sure,
forward
definitely
to
calling you once again, sir.
Sure, sir.
Good.
Thank you. Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
So, friends, it's now time to move on to the next session, which is a panel discussion on on AI in IA, and we have with us. I think it should be a very interesting discussion because, as I said earlier, AI in AI, it's a very wide possibilities are very wide, and diverse views can bring in. It's always good to have some diverse views, and you learn something new every time when I hear somebody speaking on this kind of topic. So, and we have with us CA Mosam Shah to moderate the panel, and we have CA Nirmal Shah, CA Nisarg Trivedi, and Shrirang Joshi as our esteemed panelist. So, welcome to everybody. Thank you for sparing your time and being with us. I'll just take the opportunity to introduce our moderator for the day, CA Mosam Shah. Mosam is a partner in Mosam Shah and Associates, and is in practice for more than 12 years. She deals in direct, indirect compliances, is an advisor to various corporates, and has recently also started CFO services. She's very active in Ahmedabad branch and has been in the past couple of years has been part of various committees of Ahmedabad branch, and has contributed a lot to our profession. She has also been a faculty at the Finance Literacy Drive that the Ahmedabad branch conducted for the weaker section of the societies. So, Mosam, welcome to the panel discussion on behalf of WRC and all the participants. Thank you for being sparing a valuable time. Chintan, would you like to give some introductory remarks before I hand over the session to Mosam?
No, I think thanks to Rahul Bhai, because before Rahul Bhai has come in between the session, because in between it's difficult because you don't know when it ends and when it starts, and then spending time and sharing a lot of thanks, and also introduce moderator Mosam Shah. So wonderful, thank you Rahul Bhai, and not taking much time further. Mosam, it is on all yours, because these three distinguished faculties have immense experience of dealing with these things, and we have wide experiences coming to flow from Nirmal, Nisarg, and Shrirang. I think I'm also amazed to listen to their thought process. Over to you, Mosam.
Thank you. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
Yes. Thank you so much, Rahul Bhai, for such a kind words. And I would like to thank you, Chintan Bhai, for giving me this opportunity. And so today's topic is very interesting. AI in IA. A look at an emergent technology in internal audit landscape, and we have very three expert as a panelist in the in today's session. So first of all, I would like to start with the introduction of the three panelists. The first is Nirmal Shah, sir. He's a GM in Adani Group of Finance Management and Control, chartered accountant, LLB and BCom, and he's having a result-oriented professional, having 19 plus years of reach and qualitative industry experience, including the 12 plus years in the senior management cadre in managing accounting and audit operation, experience in Indian AS and IFRS implementation, statutory and internal audit, GL scrutiny and controlling internal financial control, and SEP, FICO, and executed the various SEP projects, including the Hyperion module. He has also written various articles in accounting standard books. Welcome, Nirmal, sir. Our today's second speaker is Nisarg Trivedi. He's working in Infotech as a CFO for the 6 years now, and work with consulting world, including the Big Four, where he has handled the areas like international taxation, transfer pricing, and structuring for a domestic and overseas customer. Welcome, Nisarg. And our last speaker, last but not the least speaker, is Shrirang Joshi, sir. He has been associated for over a decade with various IT services and product and SaaS companies as a CFO, finance head, and a coach. He also has advised various startup on various matters of finance, corporate structuring, and risk management. Prior to this, he was associated with Big Four audit firm for over a decade in assurance and accounting advisory role. Thank you and welcome all the three of you on board.
Thank you so much.
So today's topic is very interesting. So will you like to comment on in few lines for the before we start the panel discussion? Nirmal sir, can we start? Yeah.
Yeah, so basically, I joined earlier and I heard a lot of things with Mr. Prasanth with reference to the AI. And 2 point I really liked that he said that there is a AI, and his last discussion he mentioned about that AI versus ChatGPT, where he has very well explained about that the ChatGPT is nothing but like the repository where there is a data is there, and if you ask something, they will give something like to us. But the AI is nothing but the innovation tool. So it is very rightly as mentioned in the last few seconds, and given the responses. So I agree with him, and I hope the session, which is the full day session, was going on, and all the participants has learned a lot of things with reference to the landscape of the AI in IA.
Thank you. Nisarg, you want to say anything?
So sorry, before we start, I'm not a very techno-savvy person, though I work in an IT company. See, I feel many times people get lost and takes a lot of interest to understand what is the difference between AI and ML. I feel everything is, it's an automation. Let's put it this more of an automation, and that makes our life little easy to understand. Why do we as a chartered account have to, in nutshell, see, we can say that AI is a bigger part, ML is a part of AI. All those things are there. So first, I want to help everyone that let's not waste a lot of time in understanding this. And second, I like one thing about Prashant, what he mentioned, that bots are like drones. That line is very, very, very important. That a lot of things can be done by bots. So once we probably discuss, there are certain examples where bot can be used. But overall, wonderful session by them. Looking forward. Thanks.
Yeah, that's true. I agree with you. Sir, Shrirang ji, you want to add anything?
Thank you, Mosam. So one thing Kartik sir mentioned in while introducing the topic, it's about our typically we are very late, absorbent of the technology as a profession. He highlighted this one point. I have seen this happening when the audit moved from the manual records to an automation. There was a generation who was still printing the records and going through them, doing those manual checks and balances rather than pulling the records into Excel and doing analysis is much faster way. So probably as a profession we are slightly late absorbent. We accept technology slightly late. At the same time, while since I have been associated with a lot of tech companies and I move around in a lot of startups, there are very interesting tools have been built. People are thinking really out of the box and building some very interesting tools using AI and AI based technologies. I also was connecting with few smaller CA firms, proprietors and all, and I see a lot of interest. I mean, even smaller firms are using it in some way intelligently. There are some very interesting use cases. We can discuss this further in the. So everyone is I see this as a positive change happening in the profession. From those times when there was a resistance to accept the technology, even smaller firms are aware about this. This is going to be big, actually, probably disturber in this industry, and everyone is aware about it. It's a good that people are aware about this technology, and there is a change in approach towards this technology. It's interesting time ahead. Few things only time will tell how efficient the technology is, but yes, it's an interesting and challenging time ahead. Thank you.
With this introductory remarks, I'm very much sure this panel discussion is going to be very interesting. Nirmal sir, first question, and this is not the question from my side, but I'm very much sure all of my friends, when they read AI in IA, they must have this question come into their mind is, can AI replace human auditor?
So I expect this question because the way the discussion was going on during the whole session, earlier session, and definitely someone will ask this question because it's all about the mindset of the people. So straightforward answer is no. AI cannot replace the human auditors. So if you use the laptop and if you want to type something, so what happens? It is something like that. Your brain is nothing but your AI, and your hands is nothing but your brain is nothing but your AI, and brain is nothing but your human, and these hands which you are using for the typing the laptop, it is nothing but is given the some messages to type these things. So your human will never be, AI will never be a become replacement of the human auditors. So the first more important, when you do the internal audit, you have to think about that internal audit is itself is the process of the insurance and consulting activity, which you have to perform very well for the organization. So if you consider that the Indian economy, which is moved from the 3.75 trillion, which is moved to the 7 trillion by 2030. If you consider the growth of our Indian sector, I'm not talking about the global growth. If you consider the growth of the Indian sector, Indian economy, it's required definitely the manual work will not survive you. You require some help with reference to the some of the technology. And AI is nothing but helping hands to us. So if I take the one example with reference to a simple example, so if internal audit is for the invoices booking, and then AI team needs to be check the various details of the invoices, which includes the service entry, goods received, name of the company, GST number, blah, blah, blah. If you take the manual, all these things at the time of the internal audit with reference to the invoices booking, it's give the whole lot of time, because in the big industry, the routine transaction, you can't believe it, the routine transaction with reference to this invoice booking is in lakhs. It is not in thousand, in lakhs. So if you consider the processes with reference to the invoices tracking during the internal audit time, you need to have some system, whether it will be a robotic system, which Nisarg has mentioned just in the introduction, or you have some other system, but it is required to have some system so that during your internal audit work, you will get the data. It is nothing but the sampling of the data. So 100 out of 5, it is not that the 100 out of the 100, the AI system will be checked and they will give the analytical report to you guys. So definitely AI will never be replace the human auditors.
Yes, Nirmalji, I agree with you. AI cannot replace the human auditor, okay, because the human brain is working. Matlab, it is very important that human brain is there to work, to implement the AI. Nisarg, next question is to you. As Nirmal sir has explained very well that AI cannot replace a human auditor. So now next question is, what do you think? Can we say AI and human auditor can complement each other to give a better quality of audit, and how that will work?
Yeah, so Nirmal rightly pointed out that AI can never replace anything that we do as an intern. But see, we have to accept that in the times, probably even Prashant Bhai also covered that the client are expecting the 100% of audit. Now that is practically not possible as an intern. We can't have that time and energy, and that is also not expected from that. But still, they want to a client always wants that what are the discrepancies, you give it me on the table. So I think it has to complement. Now before wasting a lot of time, let's take a couple of cases where I feel there could be a good chance of AI helping on the internal audit or maybe complementing it. The first one is procure to pay. That's simple, and one of the classic thing. When a PO has been issued and the payment is being done, there are a lot of checks and balances that are being put in the system, may it be SAP, Oracle, Zoho, Tally, whatever it is. Now, is that being followed correctly or not? For large corporates where there are hundreds and lakhs of transactions, we need this tool. So that's procure to pay, which I feel could be very important. Then second example, if I take now a lot of OCR tools are available. Intelligent data processing is being done. So one classic case could be when a large value contracts are being executed, there are performance penalties, and those are quantitative, qualitative both. Forget, let's say, qualitative for the time being, but for the quantitative, which can be quantified very easily, how will you determine that? So a reading of the legal contract and applying with the processes that has been mentioned, that could be one of the classic case. I was talking to one of my friend based out of Bangalore, taking care of large e-commerce companies, heading their tax practices. He said that we generate more than 515 CACB every month. Just imagine how first, as a tax person, he'll be ensuring that this is being correctly done. The burden is also on a chartered accountant who certifies that, and also the tax auditor or maybe the internal auditor who has to say that there is no risk. Practically, it is impossible. So how will you fetch out the data? So here, a classic implication could be expected from here from AI, and there are a lot of things like this. I feel where AI has to play a bigger role. Maybe all of them are not in place today, but I'm sure something will come up in future. Some just application needs to be done. Let's say OCR with this. So that application is probably the only answer.
Yeah, actually, absolutely correct. Means if we summarize that, can we say that it helps to make the auditors work easy rather than it is replacing. It will help to make their work easy. Okay.
No.
Shrirang ji, now the next question I want to ask you. Can you please explain different activities do we see can be taken care by AI from internal audit area perspective?
Oh, there are there are large use cases, and as I was mentioning, even smaller firms directly, indirectly are using it right now. I was actually I had one very interesting conversation a couple of days back with one of my old friend, and I asked him how you are using maybe a Chat GPT type of tool for audits, and what is it like really useful for you? So he gave me very interesting two use cases. One, he mentioned that when you have to draw an audit program, he said that I create a huge history of the company. I go into as minute as possible. Which industry, what is the turnover growth, who are the proprietors, what type of where it is based, how many employees, all type of details I can capture. I just capture as an industry background. I throw it at ChatGPT and I mentioned that you create audit program for this company. And he says you will be surprised, the program which comes out is quite impressive. I mean, not necessarily it is 100% accurate. I still need to tweak it a little bit here there, but still ChatGPT can generate a very large audit program which is probably, I'll say, more than 90% accurate, which can be used. So that saves a lot of time and energy, and that is very interesting use case. He also mentioned that you can there are a lot of clients come to him for creating SOPs for some specific areas and all. So again, same logic. I create a basic information about what I need in SOP and all that. Again, throw at ChatGPT. You will get a very robust SOP implemented. Again, you cannot just blindly use it, but still it's largely developed. So there are like interesting people are using it very interesting mechanisms. How people, everyone is devising to use these tech tools. There are various other aspects of AI which are actively being used right now. There are many companies working on certain tools. Uh, Anywhere where there is a large data is required and there are repetitive tasks, typically reconciliations, etc. There are the AI can work wonders. There are already tools available. The typical example is a GST data reconciliation. Now, the tool can reconcile the data which probably for human interference, a normal person to reconcile it manually might take even days, months together. The AI tool can reconcile that data in few hours, few minutes also. And interestingly, those tools are evolving very big way. They can identify. You can identify the patterns. For example, invoice number say ABC 123 and invoice number ABC space 123. I mean, humans can match them. They are similar, and we can try to match them. So those tools have getting evolved. I mean, they have now these type of capabilities. They can think in the way the humans can think and match far more data which even not possible for human because of the volumes of the data. So any reconciliation, any large data requirements or task which can be which needs repetitive nature automations, the AI works really well. AI can identify patterns. I was working with one of the one startup. So they have a tool which can the objective of the tool to not to help auditor but to help management to reduce the revenue leakages, particularly for the services organizations where the time based billing is involved. Any IT services company or any other services company where the time based billing happens, and the tool does wonders. I mean, it runs into historical data. I mean, you can give him the time data and the revenue data for historically, and it fetches so many interesting observations, and it can predict any gaps within like few seconds. It runs through the entire data and identifies the exceptions, gaps, etc. So it's very useful tool from even from audit perspective. You can focus on those specific months, specific periods where the exceptions are there, and audit them in more rigorously, intensely to identify. There are anomaly identifications. Uh, I think Murtuza sir mentioned about it, and there are. I mean, you can run a query, but there are larger tools available. It can read the entire accounting data, can identify the exceptions. Like for example, the transactions recorded, large transactions recorded at the period end, or weekend transaction recorded and reversed. A user, say for example a CFO recording certain transactions, and then there can be hundreds of these type of exceptions, which probably it's not that easy even to export this data in Excel and run these checks. But this tool can probably do this in few minutes and give you the exceptions, and then you can actually, when we are talking about 100% audit. So this is a very great way to sample the data, but the samples can be focused only on the real exceptions, and can be identified those all anomalies, exceptions, and auditor can only focus on those. So it's a very robust tools available. uh, there are a lot of focus right now on the risk management. I mean, many internal auditors, not only you need to look at the historical data, but you are also predicting certain matters, what is the future, how the future will look like. And the predictive analytics, I think Kartik sir briefly brushed up on this concept, that there is a very interesting predictive analytical tools available which can predict probability of certain events. A startup company can going dry, it getting out of cash, it can be predicted. uh, uh, I previously mentioned about a startup company which is using this tool for revenue leakages. That tool has a capability of predicting leave probability. it reads the data of actual leaves, recorded by the employees. It can correlate leaves with the weather forecast. In Mumbai, if it is raining, there is a high possibility X number of people can go on leave, or there are near weekend leaves. There are larger, holiday periods coming. So that tool can predict the leaves and predict the revenue leakage. It can predict the future, saying that in certain XYZ days there is a high risk that you will lose revenue because your people are going to be on leave. So these type of tools are available which can predict. I mean, it's not accurate, but they can still give a direction how the future is going on out. And a lot of, it can be used. I mean, you can use that future analysis to match with the actual results and get a lot of interesting, insights out of it. I'll just quickly add two more points, which are very interesting and dear to me. Natural language processing, NLP, it's a very emerging technology right now. Has a lot of use cases. There are companies largely working on this. So natural language processing is nothing but like computers need a specific coding mechanism. I mean, there are computer languages. Certain things to be explained to a machine need to be recorded in a certain fashion. Otherwise, it doesn't understand. Natural language processing just eliminates this requirement that you need to understand the coding. You can explain what you expect from that program in a layman terms. I can tell that, okay, I want first to pull this data, then do these activities, and then compare results, so on and so forth. So that this need not be exactly need to be in a machine coded or in a specific language. This natural language can be interpreted by computer. So there are systems. It's still evolving technology, but there are tools available right now. The simple example is in Excel. There is a small tool available. I need not remember our formulas. I can just write there that, okay, I want, say, cell A1 to be compared with X, then average to be taken, then compare which is more, then that need to be added, or XYZ. You can give a very complex statement based input to that tool. Tool will generate a formula for you. So it's a very interesting technology. There are multiple uses. One very interesting use of this natural language processing is analyzing the legal records. Typically, I mean, the example which I can immediately quote is any IT services companies. They have huge. I mean, it's all customized transactions, customized agreements with every customer. Large companies can have thousands of agreements, and there can be a very different performance obligations involved in every agreement. Now, for a physically, reading through this each and every agreement and identifying what are the obligations and how revenue need to be recognized can be really time consuming, and even matching that revenue with the actual records or auditing those transactions can be a challenging task. It takes sometimes months to read through this. I have actually experienced this in my audit times. Now there are tools available which can read through that entire agreement and summarize it, create a the synopsis of it, even probably can even match that revenue with revenue recognition with that actual requirement of that agreement, and it can really do wonders. I mean, it can save a lot of time for it. And last very interesting thing, and a lot of large organizations already working, is a real-time audit. I mean, as a probably a CXO member or a controller or a director, I don't want a post-mortem audits. I want a preventive mechanism. I don't want someone to come after 3 months and tell me, oh, you have done this error, and that is something has already gone, and we are just reporting it. What I really need is I want a preventive mechanism. So real-time audit, there are a lot of checks and balances people have implemented. There are proprietary tools available which are already implemented, which avoids, I mean, they just don't allow you to even process certain type of transactions before you revalidate it, or there are certain exceptional approvals are there, and that prevents, like, I'm pretty sure that prevents more than 90% of exceptions available in the system, and helps in largely auditing. So I think the technology has probably the use cases can be numerous. I mean, it's a sky is the limit. It's still evolving, and everyone is using it. Everyone is using it intelligently for a lot of activities.
Lots of interesting thing. मतलब सर आपकी बात से तो ऐसा लग रहा है कि मतलब सब दर्द की दवा एक ही है. AI मतलब I mean you know what is your problem and you know what is the correct tool to solve the problem. Then काम हो गया. It's like that.
Word of caution is there are a lot of still loopholes. I mean, they're still evolving. You cannot just completely rely on it. You still need to apply the human brains to it.
Definitely, as we discussed earlier, it is everything should be correlated. Matlab, it should be work together. A human being has to apply that technology. It cannot replace it. So that's true. Nirmal sir, now the next question to you. I'm sure, matlab, as Shrirang ji has given a lots of example where we can use the AI to solve our problem. So all must be excited to understand how to implement the AI in IA. Sorry.
Yeah. So basically, Shrirang has mentioned very well that means in the last responses with your question, and he has mentioned about the various automatic tool, analytical tool, and then trade analysis. So definitely there is a different mode for implementation of AI is available, and the mode will be on the, it will be like whatever he has mentioned that it will be a different mode. I will give the one example that have you heard about the AI camera, artificial intelligence camera? So this process is already implemented in various airports. So in the airports, what happened? There is a different shops and stores are available, and there is in the store there is a different people are working on it. So when you shop it, so there is a still there is a GST related companies going on. You take the bill and etc etc. But in additional of that, the AR camera is captured that when you purchase something, then the AI camera will focus on the person who is actually doing the billing activity, case activities, card scratch activity. So if there is a AI camera, they focus on the particular person. They see that whether the billing is prepared. If you taken the case has been properly taken based on the billing amount. And if there is any free gift is available, whether the person who is there, whether he has given the free gift to the customer or not, that type of the tracking is also available to the AI camera. So again, coming to that, because there is a various common platform is available and there is a robotic process as of now, the company or internal auditing is more focusing on the robotic process because it is nothing but the internal audit mind will be put as a part of the program and program will give the some result, which actually, suppose I am the internal auditor, I have to do the all the activities and I have identified the some of the exceptional report. Instead of that, the my third process will put as a part of the robotic processes. We give the language, we give the program and program will give the exceptional reporting. So to further process on this part, we will give the two example because Nisarg ji has, Shrirang ji has already given the lot of example with reference to the GST compliance, yes, obligation, the reference to the agreements, etc. I will touch upon the two part, which is nothing but the basic, which every company needs to do the audit. One is the duplicate invoices. So it is always happen in big company there is a lot of invoices, and in normal scenario we give the audit work to the consultant that you identify the invoices which is booked during the particular period, identify the duplicate invoices. So if you go the individual vendor wise, individual invoices wise, then it is and in first case in itself I mentioned that there is a transactions are increasing because of the economic growth, and every industry has more than 10,000, 20,000, 50,000, 1 lakh invoices booking during the whole year. It is very difficult. The manual will become for the purpose of identification of the duplicate invoices. So there is a robotic process there. If in the program itself, you have to fit two main third process. One is the invoice number and second is the vendor name. So if you consider that invoice number and vendor name both are repeated, then the robotic through the AI processes itself, the exceptional report you will get. So this is the one of the example where we say that we can implement the AI with reference to the normal basic internal audit framework. Second is the SOP checking perspective. Suppose we give the one more example for the compliance perspective when there is a big entities are there and there is always the good governance, good corporate governance are there. And when we say that my payment to the all the vendors to be paid on or before the due dates. So this is the always all directors of the company or board of directors always eager to see that is there any payment which is not paid within the due date and what is the reason. So to identify those activities is very difficult to directly take the manual exercise. There are some tools available in the SAP, but you have to again take the down to filter those data. Then again you have to recheck these things. So in the AI tool or in the robotic process or in any analytical tool where you have to fit the program, where you mentioned about that, if there is any due date with reference to the particular invoices booking, and you have to just match the payment date, you will get the idea how much amount has been paid after the due date or how much amount has been paid before the due date. And not only this AI will give the various report in the presentation mode to the seniors and top management. So there is a lot of programs are available, lot of tools are available, and Chiranjeev has mentioned 2 or 3 tools, and there is a lot of tools are there. Where in the routine internal audit, where there is a GST compliance are there, GST input tax credit reconciliation are there. Now because of the transaction value is increased, transaction period is increases, the tool it will give itself the exceptional report. Now you have to only work on those exceptional reports. You fine tune it and you will get the responses with reference to the AI tool.
Thank you. There are lots of examples where we can implement the AI. So I'm just wondering that there are various areas where we can implement the AI, but as a chartered accountant, we are not early adopter of technology. So Nisarg, what do you say? How easy to make AI work in IA?
I feel we have to be aware of the things which are available in the market. So, Shrirang rightly pointed out about a service company booking a revenue and what are the unbilled revenues, especially on 31st March. So that's one case. Probably Shrirang, we also applied a Python tool to identify that. Second, he rightly pointed out, there are certain places where let's take case where as a service company our billing generally goes down during this Navratri season or maybe so how do we compensate? So we know what would be that would be a dip in the revenue, but what is that quantification? So certain tools we have developed, maybe we can just run a Python script. So what we did is running a script to know what would be the loss of billing. That indications are there, but the predictability comes from such kind of tools. But one thing I like to highlight that when we identify, we have to apply certain AIs. We should be very clear that you can't apply AI in everything. You have to be starting with some POC, a small POC. You can't do it. I want to be automated and I want to do it all across. So starting in a bits and pieces, identifying something which you really want, and the second would be that what could be the cost of that AI. See, one thing is buying something off the shelf, that is one. And many times large corporates or we suggest them that have this tool developed. Developing a tool may not be as difficult as it seems, but the application and the expectation management, because AI doesn't give you 100% accuracy from day one. It takes a lot of time, maybe in some cases 3 years. I can take one case here that what we did, when GST rollout came, we had an HSN mechanism rollout. So we thought, can we apply a HSN code to determine the income tax TDS rate? This looks very simple, and we are successfully, probably today when we are speaking, we are able to have a 95% of accuracy. on this thing, but it took almost 3 years was for us to marry this. So one should be aware of what are the things that can be done. Uh, uh, I'm sure there are lot use cases. The only thing is we should be aware and applying in small part. That would be the key. Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. And so it's very interesting how we can apply, even as a chartered accountant, we know the logic. We know what we want. We know what our client want. So just the question is how to use that technology and how to make our work easy. And, without error, and how we can provide the result to the client. But of course, there are a few challenges also. So what are the challenges in implementing the AI? Shrirangji, can you elaborate that?
Interesting question. So the first most important part is as
So
Nirmal
your
sir
voice is
already-
very
Then your voice is low. Can you?
One second. Sorry.
Yeah, be louder.
Yeah. So as Nirmal sir rightly mentioned that this cannot completely, eliminate the human element in the audit. You need to use it very carefully, understand what are the limitations of the technology, and apply it extremely. I mean, eventually the judgment of human judgment is very critical in these matters. uh, that can create real challenge when the AI based tool is applied. The understanding of the technology, we as a profession probably we are not a that tech savvy. We don't understand the real nuts and bolts of those whole mechanism. It can become really challenging for someone to apply what judgment to be applied, where the tool can be used, where the tool cannot be used, which areas you need to override the tool and apply your human judgment. It's quite a challenging, and I see there are a lot of conflicts happening in this is a very critical area, and it's going to be the area of interest in next few years. How to marry these two things, it's quite a task actually. Another very important part and uh, is about data protection. We are also now having a very robust data protection laws in place in India, and particularly the personal data protection is extremely sensitive topic. uh, the open AI tools like ChatGPT and there are many others use the data which you add to the tool to program themselves. I mean, they keep on learning from the data which is thrown at them. So we need to be extremely careful where the data we are exposing, what type of data we are exposing. Any sensitive data getting exposed, particularly in a open AI tool, can create a lot of challenges. That data getting exposed externally, and there can be serious implications about it, and which need to be carefully examined, analyzed, and the overall audit programs, which type of tools we are using for audit programs, need to be carefully planned. Another challenge is always about the skill set. It's a new thing, even as even Nisargaji rightly mentioned. Even I have been working with so many tech companies for over a decade. I don't understand a lot of this technology still. I'm probably novice about it, so I need to learn a lot of things. Even the general audit faculty probably fraternity need to understand a lot of things, learn new technologies. There need to be programmed mechanisms to make these technologies available, to get people trained on those technologies. Or CA firm typically doing audit, they need to train their staff on these technologies, get them competent to use those tools, understand them, get them up to speed on these technologies. It's a time consuming and even probably expensive exercise in itself, and that can definitely be a challenge. uh, the another, I mean, I briefly mentioned is uh, how you will ensure that whether the AI based tool has done some auditing tests. How you'll ensure that those tests are adequate. I don't understand the technology. I don't understand the exact algorithm which is running behind the technology. So probably you need to at least have a basic sense of the algorithm, how that algorithm is working out. At the same time, I won't be surprised that there is a new era, auditors will come into picture who will audit those auditing tools and give the, those tools are not biased and their algorithms are accurate, because otherwise everything will be a toss. Any minor even bias in the algorithm or in the data of the tool can give very uh, different results. I mean, it can just go for a toss, and it's I mean, we still probably don't have answer to this, ready answer to this, how you will analyze the tool, how the tool you fetch the tool. But eventually where this matter, I mean, take a very extreme case where certain something goes wrong and you are probably charged with a misconduct or you're dragged to court. You cannot just pass on the responsibility to the auditing tool that, "Okay, I use this auditing tool and I don't know what that auditing tool has been done." So this is going to be a real challenge. I mean, how you will ensure that the data and the tests done by auditing tool are adequate, and who owns those responsibility for that. This is going to be a real challenge, and these are evolving. I mean, and we'll definitely, as a CA fraternity, we will be able to navigate through these, identify certain mid paths and overcome this. But these are right now are very relevant and quite interesting challenges I foresee in implementing these tools.
Yeah, agree. I agree with you. This bring another question into my mind is there must be ethical implications also, right? Of using AI in financial audit. Nirmal ji, who want to add anything? I mean, like, what do you think?
So he has rightly mentioned about some of the points. So if you remember, there is a one movie, robot movie was there, Rajnikant and Aishwarya Rai Bachchan. So if you see that, we always used to restriction ourselves to what extent we have to use that automation process, intelligence process through various tools or through various mechanisms. In movie itself, if you see that in the starting point, it is some of the automation or the same type of the Rajnikant was there, and then after some of the activity he is performing in this movie, and then after the human touch try to given to that robot, and you know the result of that particular movie. So on the first question, I said that the human touch will never give the final result in reference to the AI. AI will work based on the program which someone has built in the particular tool, particular processes. So basic principle of the internal audit is that there is the independency, objectivity, completeness, confidentiality, professionalization. There is a basic principle are there. So if the internal audit is done by someone else as a third party, so we have to think about that how we are implementing the AI, whether it is with reference to your control with reference to your accounting function, or it is control, or it is nothing but the audit with reference to the third party. So that particular restriction you have to decide on the day one itself. So if it is with reference to the in-house audit, so if you see that in the large organization, there is a based on the company's requirement, you have a in-house audit or you have to open the third party, something like that. But you have to decide if it is an in-house audit. Definitely, there wouldn't be any impact with reference to the data privacy, with reference to the confidentiality, with reference to the independence. But if it is a third party, then large data chunk, because in manual it will be always the sampling data. So out of the 100, the audit will be considered the 10% of the sampling data. But at the AI tool, we always prefer to have a full population so that the AI will give the accurate result to us. So you have to decide itself, and ethical implication is definitely is there. but you have to restrict yourself and decide based on your management decision.
So now we know what will be an implications of using when we use AI. Nisarg, I want to understand what are the different type of tools that we can use to make the work easy and accurate.
Yeah. So see, couple of things comes to my mind. That first, as I spoke about this HSN code classification, correct? So that's one thing that we have been using. There are tools available in market. Maybe I was just reading a question on OCR capability that Vasudha has asked, that what if the 8% has been rated as 6%? And the question she has asked. See, OCR will have its own challenges. We can't expect OCR to be 100% sure. But the only point is we should know where extra check is required. Knowing where to stop, that is more important in this. Let's say one thing is contract lifecycle management. That there are many contract lifecycle management tools available in the market. Now, when you apply that tool for your AI reading, then you should know this. This is exactly what Vasudha is also trying to ask. So, where to stop is more important in AI. And as see, many times, as I was saying earlier also, we get confused between an ML and AI. But Shrirang rightly pointed out algorithm. Now to check the algorithm. So there are certain taste automation tools which are available where the algorithm is checked. AI is level above the algorithm, where tool gets learned or maybe it prepares itself by your inputs. So we have to actually understand that whenever there is an algorithm, it's actually a rule-based engine. So there is practically no AI. Correct. It's a ML. It's machine learning. So so that clarity has to be there. There are, let's say, many tools available for vendor registration, where person checks whether the vendor's PAN is linked to Aadhaar, whether PAN is valid, their GST is valid, which Nirmal was initially speaking. These are all algorithmic tools. So the risk of such tools are far lesser than an AI tool. So that knowledge has to be passed on. And second, the last point would be, let's say, 26 AS reconciliation with your sales, or maybe the GST, where ITC you have to claim. These are fuzzy logics, where it is just giving you an indication. You can't take that as a blanket thing that matching of 26 AS with your ledger, it gives you 100% accuracy. Sorry, it's an indicative accuracy. Somewhere maybe the tool has to be used in such a way that it also gives you a level of accuracy, if not in percentage quantitative, maybe high, low, or medium. Correct. So there are tools available, but that application has to be very careful.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Another question, or we can say another confusion, is a GTP. When we talk about AI, so people's come into the one thing come into the mind is chat GTP. Okay, so how to use that in different stage of IA? Nirmal ji, I want you to answer this question.
So if you see that this last 6 months or last 6 to 8 months, there is once the ChatGPT related information is received and everyone has downloaded the ChatGPT and started to ask the question. Suppose today if I ask the question, what is the tool for the ChatGPT and how it will be a different, something will come from the ChatGPT. So what is the ChatGPT? The importance is that you have to understand what is the ChatGPT and what is the AI. So it is something like that. If there is a audit is going on and you require the audit documentation, the documentation you park at the particular place, or you park as a particular as a part of your laptop. It is nothing but the repository. If you search after the 2 years, 3 years further, you will get those documents from your repository. So there is a something pre-training transformer. It is GPT. ChatGPT name itself is nothing but the generated pre-training transformer. There is some pre-training logic has been given so that once you ask the question, some of the responses you will receive from the other side. So it is nothing but the some set of answer is there, or some set of program is there, so that you will ask the question, you will get the responses. So it is nothing but the repository. Now the question is that whether based on the repository, are you able to get the your internal audit work effectively? Answer is no. You require the AI. AI is nothing but the innovation. So during all this, whatever the question has been asked through the various participants, and everyone has said that set up the program is there where you can get the output. And still we are discussing and debating how to more effectively various program can be used so that manual intervention, I am saying that manual intervention, I am not saying that human intervention, manual intervention can be reduced to get the output effective and efficiency. With reference to this, there are two parties very important. One is the responsibility and second is the authority. So once you said that there is a chat GPT and AI is there, you will get the response. The response you can't use that the chat GPT has given the response. The same thing is with the AI. When you innovate it, and when you put your program in particular AI, you are responsible to get the report from the AI itself, and that you can put as a part of the exception report to the management also. So there is a whole lot of difference. I believe that ChatGPT is nothing but the repository and AI is nothing but the innovation, and it will evolve in the future also, and lots more of the program will be available in the market, which reduce your work, but it will give the effective output to you with reference to the internal audit.
Thank you, sir, for clarifying that AI and Chat GTP is different. So lots of people have a confusion. Then when we talk about AI, they are thinking that it is like usage of Chat GTP. It is a different thing. So now, as an auditor, one thing coming to my mind is data security, data confidentiality. So while using AI in audit, what the precautionary measure can be taken? Nisarg, can you elaborate that?
Yeah. So see, this is very important because especially the Data Protection Act, and when someone even uses a Chat GPT, many times I've seen people using, how to draft a mail on this particular question. I've seen that they put actually the business secrets onto the Chat GPT. So first, let's be honest that you have to be very careful about what to put and what not to put. This is one of the biggest blunder I've seen. Our own HR team was trying to find, create a JD from the Chat GPT. The answer were fantastic, but you can't put Signet is looking for, your client's name, your what exactly your ultimate client's name. You have to be very careful. So this first. Second, there are a lot of encryption tools available. So when you forget about the Chat GPT. Whenever now you use an AI, you have to be very careful that 256 encryption bit is being used or not. This is one of the fundamental that one should ask when you even buy a tool. The third point is avoid using free tools, open tools available on the market. Let's say Roshinji was mentioning about algorithm. When I say, there are test automation tool available, don't buy a free tool because then your algorithm is definitely leaked to someone else. So these are the basic things. I would always prefer to read the subscribe terms and conditions. When you actually just do it and free it, you are actually giving away a lot of things. When you run your actual data on a free tool, you are actually sharing whom you are buying from, who you are selling, your customer list, everything. So training to the team, a sales team, HR team, everyone in the organization, because the young generation may not be aware about the data protection. So awareness of the data protection law. Let's say one thing which recently we came across, that under the new data protection law, certain things has to be encrypted when, let's say, we are using let's say a CA is filing that client's return, and CA has a lot of articles, then how do you ensure that data is being protected? There are tools which stops someone to mail from one part to another part. So these are very basic things, but one has to look at once you actually go for this. There are once the law comes in, or the rules are yet to be framed, but once everything is placed, one has to relook their strategy for AI. That's extremely important. Yeah.
I agree with you. That's very true. So if Shrirang ji, if we want to summarize everything, matlab, we know it is very important to use the AI in IA. And at the same time, there are various implications also of the usage as far as the ethical thing is concerned, as far as the data security is concerned. The lots of cost is also involved. So can you, can we summarize with the cost benefit analysis? So it will help one to take a decision.
So, while doing the cost benefit analysis, you need to look at the pros and cons of this thing. We have been discussing about this. There are various, pros of using it. It can increase the efficiency. You can run huge data through the system and get the results much quicker than doing the human based audit. Even certain cases, it can improve the accuracy of your results. Wherever there is a right data processing is happening, the accuracy will definitely improve. The pattern identifications, the risk identification is far better. It can be improved. You can analyze only, rather than relying on only samples which are maybe randomly generated or generated at regular intervals or various other matter. You can really get into the real exceptions in the system and only analyze, test those exceptions to ensure that the larger audit coverage is available. You can have a continuous auditing in place, where the preventive mechanism itself in place, which reduce the overall reportable matters itself, and it helps as a as uh, I think Chintan was mentioning, it's a first first mechanism of prevention of anything, any abnormality in the system, and it's a very great feature, and we will see more of those real-time things coming into place. So it has a lot of merits. NLP, the natural language processing, is also evolving. You can run data much quicker, much faster, analyze agreements. A lot of things can be done through it. You can probably overcome requirement of actual coding, and in fact, there are tools available to generate the code. If you can just explain what you are expecting, and it generates the code on itself. There are a lot of features available. There are multiple pros, and I feel that the technology is going to be there. It's not going anywhere. We have to navigate through this technology, slightly modify the way audits are undertaken, and absorb this technology. The technology is definitely there, and it is probably going to help and improve. At the same time, there are the costs involved. In a sense, uh, uh, the real challenge I see in a training, large workforce, how those training can be undertaken, how the the upscalement will happen, how tools will be. The learning curve is very large probably, and that will take some time, and it's a cost. It's involves cost and time also. Uh, Secondly, as there are a lot of ethical implications here. Who owns eventually the responsibility of audit? Of course, AI cannot own it. You have, as an auditor, you are still responsible for whatever is outcome, and the efficiency of tool you need to evaluate. Um, uh, so these questions, data protection, data security, all these challenges will keep on happening, and there will be a lot of probably uh, preventive mechanisms might also take some time. For example, how to protect data. Not only that, data protection will it also involves certain costs. So in largely, um, I what I feel is, as the technology will evolve, the the implementation cost will start going down, right? Probably right now there are only large corporates are very actively engaged in this, but as the technology will start evolving, it will start getting absorbed, the cost will start going down, and you will see more implementations and more general phase uh, overall absorption and acceptance of this whole mechanism. And so there are definitely more pros than cons, for sure. Only thing is, probably it requires some more time to settle it out. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely correct, and it is very nicely summarized. Cost and benefit. What are the things that we need to think and be taken into the consideration? Now I just want to hand over to my colleague Jai Seth, who will, end this session, this wonderful session.
Well, thank you, Mosam, and good evening to one and all. Before we end the session, there are a couple of questions, out of which first one was answered by Nisarg bhai. I would like to take the question. So the question is with respect to data protection and confidentiality. In certain cases where the client has shared the data in a non-editable PDF, there is a possibility of using online tools like PDF to Word or PDF to Excel, etc. Can you provide your thoughts on this and also suggestions or alternatives? I think Nisarg bhai had pointed out this, so he
Yeah.
can.
So Jai, I can take up. See, the point is here, email encryption tools are available. First of all, this question indicates that what if maybe our own article uses a PDF converter. The point is there are email encryption tools which stops such kind of things to be done. So these are very easy things to do, but obviously, as Shrirang bhai was highlighting, that comes with a cost. And forget before that, you have to educate our team that sorry, this is not allowed. That education is missing. More or less, whenever I discuss with someone, the people are not aware that this cannot be done. So that education is still missing in the system.
Absolutely. So with this, we come to the end of this session, where this was one of the most interesting sessions I personally have attended. I mean, today I came to know about so many use cases of AI. Of course, today's panel discussion has cleared one of the biggest doubt that can AI replace auditors? And the unanimous answer by all the panelists has made a statement that we need to embrace the technological changes for our betterment only. So, on behalf of Western region of ICAI, I would like to offer my heartfelt thanks to CA Shrirang ji, CA Nirmal ji, and CA Nisarg ji for sparing their valuable time and throwing a light on the topic AI in IA. And I'm sure this panel discussion has become an eye-opener for all the participating members available over here. And looking forward to many more such knowledgeable sessions from all the three speakers. And I would also like to thank CM Mosam Shah for moderating the session. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, everyone.
Thank you. Have a nice evening and have a nice weekend. Thank you so much.
Same to you. Thank you. So we are ending the session.
Yes.